Hi, everybody. This is Drew Tomlin with the Association for Middle Level Education, and I'm joined today by not one, but two great authors of an article you're checking out here at AMLE Magazine entitled Getting Students Excited About Analytical Writing. All right, so joined by Joy Smith and Pelle Nejman. And Joy is a 7th grade language arts teacher at Danville Middle School in Danville, Pennsylvania. And her awesome middle school team includes fellow language arts teacher, as I said, Pelle Nejman, who contributed to this article as well. And so they're joining us today to talk a little bit more in depth about this wonderful content. So thanks so much for taking some time today.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, so there they are in the schoolhouse. And so we're going to start right off with the questions. And from being a former language arts teacher myself, this is a question that's always coursing through my veins. But why is it so important to instill a love of writing in young adolescents? Why this age in particular?
Well, I just think when we get them in 7th grade and even in the middle school level, they are very impressionable. We have them at kind of that point where they haven't decided what kind of student they are yet, whereas at the high school level, they may have already decided, oh, I'm a struggling writer, I'm never going to be able to write. So here we still have like a good sized piece of clay that if we inspire a little confidence in them and take care of their skills, they can go on to be successful writers. So I really think we push writing pretty hard here. It's a district goal, but it's also a goal for us.
Right.
Not only create good creative writers, but also writers that can go on and write college papers with analysis of them.
Yeah, I think developmentally, kids in middle school are really kind of able to start being more confident in their writing, and they build that foundation at the middle level that they're going to use for the rest of their academic careers. So whether that ends in high school or whether it goes to college and beyond that, it's really one of those skills that you're always going to use. So getting them excited about it here, hopefully will translate into success for them with writing later on.
They also have really wild ideas at the middle school level. Some of the creative writing that we read last year was both outstanding and a little outer space.
Yeah.
Let's just say. So.
There you go. So yeah, and I appreciate you using a metaphor first of all, Pelle, with the clay and shaping that clay, and so thank you for that. That shows some creativity in your own self, because that's totally true. Like you said, it's middle school students are impressionable, and that we want them to also be confident pieces of clay as well. So building their confidence as writers and sharing some of their outlandish and outer space ideas, like you said, is something that we should do. So with this writing plan that you all talk about in your article, how did teachers support each other as they implemented this new writing plan? You know, how did you get everybody on board?
I think this was our second year working on this particular writing assignment, the text-dependent analysis essay. So we looked at what didn't work well the previous year and what kind of made the students stressed out, what made us stressed out, and then we tried to approach it from how could we make this work better for all of us. And I think we were okay with changing our minds along the way, and it was okay to not have it perfect the first time and make modifications. We're very fortunate that we work with some great fellow teachers that were willing to do this, and in particular the social studies teachers who worked really closely with us. I think once we got down to what are we really looking for in terms of a thesis statement, using a quote to support your analysis, that kind of thing, it made it easier for non-language arts teachers to score the essays too, because I think that's where a lot of the hesitation comes in when teachers of other subject areas feel like they have to be the language arts teacher.
Yeah, they feel like I can't grade an essay. I don't know exactly what you're looking for. And one of the things that really worked for us was developing a common language, because we felt, and we still feel, that the plan that we have kind of developed here, it's actually a pretty good sell to teachers, because, you know, for instance, when we're working with our social studies teachers that we work with, you know, if they give a TDA, they're not grading 100 essays. They're not reviewing 100 essays. They're not having 100 conferences. They're only having 50. And as any language arts teacher knows, when you're sitting down in front of a stack of essays, if you can cut that in half, you know, that's kind of how we support each other. And I think the other thing too is we were able to throw ideas off each other a lot. So if I read an essay and I said, you know, I kind of think this is a 3, but it might be a 4, or you know, is it a 3-level essay yet, or is it still a 2? I can bring it over to Joy or to one of the social studies teachers, and they can take a look at it, and we kind of supported each other in that way too, double checking, you know, the assessment grades we were giving as well as what we were assessing.
Right. Well, thank you for that explanation. And the whole discussion about writing across the curriculum is such an important one, and getting other people to understand that it's you know, it's not just the English language arts teacher's responsibility to reinforce writing and stuff like that, but also how you make those folks feel comfortable with that task. And it sounds like the TDAs have definitely helped people feel very comfortable. So kudos to that. Really, really great stuff. One of the strategies that you, in terms of support and comfort, not only teachers supporting each other with this, but students supporting each other. And in the article, you talk about colored pens. So clearly students with colored pens in groups were integral to the success of the plan. How did you teach students how to support each other as writers, you know, with revision, editing, advice, and stuff like that? You know, peer conferencing can sometimes be a little sticky if you don't train the kids right. So how did you help them out?
I think when we first did it, we did a lot of modeling and demonstrating what those exemplars looked like. And then when the students had their peers' papers in front of them, they had no name on them. So they didn't know whose paper it was. So in doing it over several days, they had the opportunity to read some really good, strong writing, as well as some students who maybe still had a lot of work to do to get to that exemplar point of it. I also think that we talked a lot about when you give somebody feedback, you want to give them feedback that isn't going to make them feel bad about themselves. You know, you wouldn't want somebody to say, "Oh, your writing is really terrible, you're awful, how did you get to 7th grade?" You know, you want them to be able to be respectful, basically, and at the same time give them some good advice.
Right.
So,
I think the big thing that we tried to push with that is even in modeling it for them, writing is a process. So much of the writing that they have done is product based. You know, what do I need to do to get this? What equals this? And one thing we really focused on was switching it to saying, look, it's a process. You can read this paragraph 4 times. You can see it 4 different ways. I think one of the coolest things about our peer revision activity is in each of my blocks, whether it was, you know, students that needed a lot of help with writing, students that were writing pretty solid pieces, every block at the end of our editing process, we would say, okay, who feels like they need to go back to their paper and take a look at it? And every single student you know, would raise their hand and say, I can do better. I know what I need to do now after reading all the different examples. So that was really cool. And it really, I think it helped them develop appreciations for what we do in the grading process. Like I know Joy had some students, Joy had some students that came to her, and a few came to me and they said, you have to read all of these like this? Like, how do you do that? These are like, wow. I'm like, that's kind of how it works.
I also think it kind of built confidence in students so that, you know, later on in the year after we had done several of them, even some of our struggling students were able to really feel comfortable and confident about a thesis statement writing. And so we could pair them up with a student and say, hey, do you think you could help them out? And then in listening to their dialogue, they were reinforcing that they knew that, oh, hey, you need to, you know, work with your question to develop your thesis statement and so on. So I think it built confidence in the students in that respect as well, because they knew, okay, I was getting better at this and now I can teach it to someone else. And that kind of, you know, when I think of what success in the classroom is, when a kid can do that and really I'm not even a part of it other than pairing them together, I think that's excellent. So we had a lot of that, and that was really great.
That's cool. But yeah, if you hadn't modeled it and stressed the positivity of the process and that it is a process, then if you hadn't done all those things, then that kind of mentorship, that kind of apprenticeship that they can find in each other, that wouldn't have happened. So that's a lot of different ways that you help that grow. So in terms of even more support for this, what do you think that school administrators can do to encourage this kind of writing work across the content areas? What's their role?
You want to answer that one?
So we have been lucky in that our administrators haven't necessarily put a lot of demands on how we get things done. They kind of I think when the TDA was first introduced, there was a lot of panic, and we were writing a TDA every week as practice. And now you have teachers that don't necessarily understand what the essay is asking for, students that have no clue how to analyze, and it just wasn't, everything was really stressful that first year. When we took a step back and we looked and we said, we can get into fewer things deeper, and we went to our administration with that idea. They were very supportive. And from the administration point of view, you're hoping that you hire teachers that are good teachers and let them teach. And our effort this year was largely a grassroots effort to change how we were looking at the process. And now they supported us in that. They supported what we were doing, and now we got results back that were positive, and they're encouraging us to now go out and talk to the 6th grade teachers, talk to the 8th grade teachers, and spread that idea and try to get it on to now other grades. And they don't make it a mandate. They're not saying like, this is how we want it done. They're just presenting teachers with the opportunity to say, this was something that was successful and maybe you should listen to it. And I find that when a teacher hears something coming from a peer, it's received a lot better than what seems like a mandate from administration. So I would say overall, if you set a goal and you let your teachers figure out a way to meet that goal and then spread it amongst each other, rather than having it be a top-down type leadership design, it tends to work a little bit better.
And I think that the willingness to learn along with the teachers was really helpful. We had our principal came in while we were doing the initial group peer editing process, and he actually edited with the students. So he was looking at their work and he got the colored pens out and he was making comments. And later our curriculum director got involved. She came in and helped us with the conferencing with students. So some kids would get out of class and sit with her one-on-one and go over their TDA. So that was really cool. And I think it made us feel good about what we were doing, and it gave us that added confidence to say, okay, and it's a little scary at first because you're exposed in terms of like, okay, here's what we're doing, here's what the students are producing. It could go either way. But here in Danville, they've been really supportive, and it's been great to have that added expertise, I'll say, in the process. So it's been great.
Yeah, that kind of leadership commitment where they actually come in and, like you said, sit with the kids and actually go through it, that really shows a commitment to and value the work that you're doing. So that's really super great. So, all right, we got one final question, and it's a metaphorical journey. And since you're both, language arts teachers, and so you're already probably well versed in figurative language, so this shouldn't be a struggle.
We've talked about it.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to ask this then before the question. Do you each have your own answer, or have you come up with a combined answer?
We kind of bounced it off each other, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like we started with different answers, but then we kind of agreed that one answer was probably the best.
Okay. All right. So here we go. So here's the question. If writing was a food for middle level education, what kind of food would it be and why? What do you think, y'all?
A sandwich.
Yeah, we like
to go, a sandwich.
Yeah, we're thinking it's a sandwich has essential elements, but no two sandwiches can be the same. You know, it depends on the person's choices, and the condiments that you put on a sandwich can be the stylistic choices that you make in your writing.
Right. You can elaborate with additional meats or cheeses or vegetables. You could use different types of bread. So there's a lot of flexibility, but you still have that structure.
Yeah, everybody knows the structure of a ham sandwich.
Right.
Could be the structure of narrative writing, you know, but how you go about building that sandwich can be, if you put a ham sandwich on the chopped menu, I'm sure you're going to get 4 different types of ham sandwiches. So that's kind of equate writing to. And some sandwiches are not that great when you taste them the first time.
They need a little bit more.
Then you improve them, and they become better. So.
Right. So if writing was a sandwich, then you would take a bite out of the sandwich and maybe check it with somebody else and then add to it in the process of eating it.
Right.
Is that?
You could.
All right, well,
absolutely.
Cool. So
could be a review along the way.
Yeah, exactly. There's no such thing as a final sandwich.
That's right.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, it's always eating.
Awesome. Do you all do any writing your own selves? Do you do you have a specific form of writing that you enjoy doing yourselves?
I'm a creative writer.
Joy's the writer in the group.
Yeah. What kind of creative writing do you do, Joy, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I wrote a young adult novel as part of my MFA.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's not published yet, but hopefully it will be someday. And I do blogging and that kind of thing. So, you know, but mostly creative stuff and, you know, life experience. And then, of course, you know, the realistic fiction aspect of adult. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Cool. Pelle, how about yourself? Do you do any writing on your own?
No. Every time I attempt. So I've got a good friend that I would write with at times. As far as we tried to start multiple sports blogs, and I just time commitment that it takes to sit down and write. I feel like I never have it. I always have something else that I put in front of it, and so maybe one day when I'm old and gray, I'll sit down and put together that book I've been kicking around in my head for years and years and years. But I tend to read more than write. So
there you go. Well, you know what, and I have the same. I suffer the same affliction, Pelle. It's that self-discipline and that time aspect that kind of get in the way of crafting. So people like Joy, I mean, I have great admiration for you, not only helping kids teach the craft of writing, but being dedicated to producing and the art itself. So so well done. Well, gosh, guys, thank you so much for the conversation about this article, about getting kids excited about analytical writing. Clearly, you've found a lot of success with this. And so thanks for sharing more about it. And if people want to reach out to you individually, then Joy, your email is right there at the end of the article. So you never know, you might get some more interested questions about your writing program. So thanks for taking some time to talk with us today.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for having us.
All right, and thank you everybody out there for checking out the article and this interview here at AMLE, where we help you reach every student, grow professionally, and create great schools. Thanks again.